Hello, welcome back to the podcast Journey to Well. I realized that I never actually introduced my name, and I'm like, my whole brand is myself. So, my name's Hannah, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, and I am joined today with Paul Fishman. He is a stylist and image alchemist, and I haven't had a personal stylist on my podcast. Technically, years ago, I had a stylist on my YouTube channel, but this is a really fun conversation to have today, Paul. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited for our conversation. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. One of the other things that I absolutely love about you is that you are also into human design. So Paul is a 2-4 sacral manifesting generator, and we're going to talk all about human design and even maybe how we can integrate that with our personal style. Like, how would we even do that? So, super excited to chat with you, Paul. Give your brief introduction whenever you would like to share. There's no right or wrong here, but who is Paul Fishman?
Well, Hannah, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited for this conversation. Who is Paul Fishman? Paul Fishman is a multifaceted entrepreneurial soul here to empower and inspire uh, anyone who feels called to be empowered and inspired by me to align their inner mission and values and just passion with how they show up in the world physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And I do that through my foundational 360-degree holistic styling program, Image Alchemy, which is alchemizing your internal with your external and using tools like strategy, mindset, and styling to optimize your personal brand and how you speak before you even say a word.
Ooh, I love that. How you speak before you say a word. I love this conversation already. So when we were chatting before we hit record when we kind of connected a couple weeks ago, you shared that you have these three pillars of your business of image
Mhm,
alchemy, style, systems, and strategy. One of the things
mhm,
that I love the most about your approach is really learning and kind of diving
mhm,
into and excavating what's going on inside, and then using, I would assume, a system to
mhm,
transform that internal into, okay, so how am I going to dress? How am I going to accessorize? How am I going to show up for myself and I guess with myself. So dive in a little bit to those three pillars, and then I really want to get into like that internal and external stuff.
Sure.
Let's start with
Well, I think that the best way to share how these pillars impact a human is to share a little story about a current client that I'm working with, and then there was a potential client that came to me because they had met my current client.
okay.
And she is so my client, she is a high-powered attorney. And we've been working together for over a year. So you have to imagine that when she came to me, she was ready to up level her style. And she came to me because she was attracted to my energy and how I present myself on social media. And we connected over the fact that she really loved the color pink and she really loved to dress in suits, but didn't want to be this stuffy lawyer.
Mm,
So I started kind of digging deeper into who she is, and we really got to know like the systems that she already has in place for her day-to-day life. And from there, I optimized with a strategy of dressing in a way that presented her as someone to take seriously, but also allowed her to step into her joy as an emotional generator. So we use the
mm,
human design. So anyway, long story longer, she's at an event and she's really embodied with who she is, and she's wearing this amazing outfit. And this other person walks up to her and says, "I need your outfit. Like, I love it so much. How do I get it?" And she said, "Let me give you Paul's information." This person reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I want to order this." And I said, "Okay, we should probably have a conversation first because I want to make sure that you'll be able to hold the energetics of showing up in this really bright suit.
Okay.
So essentially what I'm getting at here is my client, she's really embodied herself to the point where she felt so confident that the clothes weren't wearing her, she was wearing the clothes. And this other potential client rushed into the clothing piece, and we got her the entire outfit. She puts it on and she says, I can't wear this. I can't do it. Like I can't walk out of the house looking like this.
Yeah.
And it didn't give her the feelings or the same result that it gave my current client.
Mm,
So that to say, the reason that I have these three pillars is to really optimize how we show up in clothing and optimize how we show up as human beings without skipping the very valuable steps, which is the inner work.
mm,
And I just think it's really important to know that like you can wear whatever you want, but you really have to want to wear it, and you have to understand the why behind the want.
mm, that's deep.
I
Or
know.
just
How-
dressy. Yeah.
It's true because a lot of times, and especially in this culture where we're kind of like conditioned to be consumers through social media, through advertising, through celebrity culture, seeing a celebrity wear something, being like, oh my gosh, I want to wear that. I
Yeah.
want to, I think actually something that's really interesting to talk about is, especially for me as a man, like underwear ads. Like I look at this like very ripped man wearing these skimpy pair of underwear, and I'm just like, if I were the underwear, I'm gonna look like that. And then I
Yeah.
buy the underwear, I put it on, and I'm just like, wow, I look nothing like that photo. That was probably photoshopped. We have no idea when was the last time that model ate something, drank any water, because all like the modeling industry in itself. So we're encouraged, if we buy this you're going to look this way, or if you buy this you're going to feel this way, and really it sets us up for continuous failure and continuous searching for more.
Mm,
So again, what I do in my programming is I allow my clients to understand who they want to be and who they are before we even put a piece of clothing on, because I'm getting the clothes to support the vision and not the other way around.
yeah. I remember when I worked with the stylist that I had on my YouTube channel, one of the most important things that I brought from that experience was similar to what you're talking about when we see celebrities or we see models, even on the websites, we don't I know I didn't notice their body type necessarily. You just say you see something and you're like, oh my gosh, they look amazing in that. Or even their skin tone, because I know we all have different skin tones and certain colors look better on us than others. And this is, I guess, more of like the fine details, but the connection is we don't spend a lot of time thinking about how would that actually look on me. I'm looking at
Hmm.
this model and saying, they look amazing in it, or the underwear model, and like, oh my gosh, now I'm gonna look that hot. And then you put that on and it is very discouraging because you don't get the result that you were hoping for or that you were
Hmm.
thinking that you would get. And then you're right, then we kind of get stuck in that let me continue consuming rather than taking a pause. And I like your approach of really diving into what am I looking to showcase and why am I choosing? So is this like colors, styles, fabrics?
Hmm.
What is it really that we're kind of diving into?
So my ideal client that I work with is going to be an entrepreneur, a public speaker, a creator, someone who is in the spotlight, who maybe uses social media to share about their business and also is very public facing or client facing. And because of with that, I always keeping in mind like you as someone who's offering a service, you are offering a solution to someone's problems. And we want to show up as a solution, fully embodied. So
Mhm.
ultimately, what I do is I get underneath the desire to wear the fancy suit, wear the fancy dress, have the really expensive handbag, as to why do you think that that is going to help you be your ideal client's solution?
Hmm.
And then we really, it's just this why, like, and a lot of people, same exact response as you. I don't know, actually. Huh.
Yeah.
This is a great, wow. You just blew up my entire world, Paul, in that one statement. So if you can relate to Hannah's, A, you're not alone. And B, it's a great, like, just start noticing when you can't finish that sentence. Why do I think that having this fancy handbag is going to solve my problems? Well, we know why because of the marketing from that, but like more so, how is that going to allow me to be the solution to other people's problems? If it's going to allow you to show up more confidently, that checks a box for me. If it's going to allow you to not worry about what other people are thinking of you and kind of calm that anxiety, especially if you're new to being public facing, that checks a box for me. And then we can use that to kind of like ease the tension and the anxiety, but we really, really, really dig deep into why the fear of other people's opinions gets in the way of us being our most authentic selves and really our biggest mission. Why the anxiety of stepping into a room where no one knows us to introduce ourselves and our services is so like anxiety provoking for so many of us, like that worrying, because anxiety is just worrying about things we can't control. So what
Mhm.
are those things that you're worried about controlling through this mask of wardrobing that might not even align? Like if I walk into a room and I know that my wardrobe is, I spent $10,000 on it, then no one is going to judge me. Well,
Mhm.
sorry, if you're walking into the room and that's your motive for spending that much money, no one is going to witness you in your true brilliance. They're just going to be picking up on that energy.
Hmm. Mm. That's such a good point. I really love that. I'm I'm so curious how you incorporate human design because all of my little human design nerd people pieces of me are like, oh, you like we could look at someone's like ego center. Is their ego center
Mhm.
defined or undefined? Or,
Mhm.
even their well, anyway. Yeah, I'm so curious because there's so many ways that I could take it, but how do you
Yeah.
incorporate human design with your clients?
The easiest way for me to incorporate is with the authority, with
Okay.
decision making is really where we start, especially if someone doesn't understand their human design.
Mm,
Um, Clearing the way for how we make decisions about the clothes we're going to purchase when we either when we put them on during a fitting or when we're looking at photos that I'm sending over in a lookbook. Sacral authorities are going to be way different than emotional authorities. Uh, you know, uh, Most of my clients are generators just because for some
okay.
reason that's how it comes. So I'm grateful for that. I have my husband is a splenic authority and I don't dress him. He dresses himself because like we just allow him to do his own thing. He's also a projector, so he
Uh-huh.
doesn't have time. He doesn't have time for a manifesting generator to try and boss him around when it comes to dressing. But when it comes to that, like the primary thing is like emotional authorities can get really, really excited really quickly. And 9 times out of 10, if we take that first excitement and we order something or we we make a decision there, they're not going to feel the same as if we look at something, take the excitement, ride the wave, and make the decision the next day, 2 days later, 3 days later. Like that to me is the sweet spot. And it's
Mhm.
acknowledging and giving space for those decisions. It's encouraging the trust because, again, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, you know that if you're trusting your authority, you really can't go wrong.
Mhm.
And also, it's just teaching people how to use their authority.
Mm,
So I'm sure you're like, oh, but what about like energy types? And really, I think that the energies and profiles like are can be valuable in the way we dress, but it can get a little bit more muddy.
mhm.
You know, when I have like a manifesting generator as a client, I know that we're not going to be building a wardrobe that's going to be a forever wardrobe because it's always going to like there's going to be need to be a pivot. Like I used to be really all about bright colors, really trendy, like streetwear. Now I'm all about like I used to always have my nails painted all these different colors. One day I woke up and I was just like, no, 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 like I'm in my soft girl era now. Like I'm
Yeah.
plain nails, like suits, like maybe a fun shoe or like accessory, but I'm not that same person.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like a generator, if we just follow joy, and the joy factor can be consistent because if we find the things that continuously bring joy, they won't necessarily change, especially if
Mhm.
we're consistently reframing and reconnecting with that joy. You know, a suit is a suit is a suit. And one of my
Mhm.
clients is a generator, loves wearing suiting, and we've probably done 20 suits together. And
Mm.
I don't, it's just like the keeping, like maybe we started with one designer and then moved to a made to measure or you know a custom suit here, maybe an exclusive colorway, maybe a different unique way to do a pinstripe, but it's always going to be a suit because
Okay.
so and then I've I've yet to I think that like with like a reflector, if you're dressing a reflector, very much like chameleon, very much like a mirror. So it feels as though like the reflectors that I know very much aren't embodied in their own identity because they're just here to literally be mirrors. So they
Mm.
normally are going to be dressing like the people that they're surrounding.
Mm.
And that I don't necessarily know if a reflector would be like have benefit within and unless there's complete like open centers because then it's like we can't make a decision so you just need someone to make the decisions for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, which I mean, my sister's a reflector. I don't know if I told you that.
Mm,
So this would be interesting to have her listen and then hear her opinion. I witnessing her dressing through the years. Like she's kind of evolved. She was more of a tomboy when she was younger, and now she wears like a lot more. Not that she always wears dresses, but she'll dress more femininely sometimes. But also, as you're saying that, I'm kind of chuckling because I just give her all of my clothes that I don't
mhm,
want anymore, and that's what she
mhm.
wears. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense with the reflector. What about projectors? I'm curious. I know that you said you mostly work with generators and mani gens,
Well,
but
it just tends to happen that way because
yeah.
generators and mani-gens are more often than not like these super self-driven entrepreneurs who are looking to be top level. Like projectors just like want to be napping all day long and like want to be invited and like and the with a projector, I see them really dressing for comfort and dressing for ease. Because the transition from like nap time to their very small battery reserve of 3 hours, which is pretty much the consistent timeline I've seen with the projectors I know. It's just like it has to be easy, comfortable, and or it's like I know that I'm only wearing it for an hour and it's going to really allow to give me energy because projectors don't create their own energetics. So it's like if we know that like for example if a projector loves wearing like bright colors more than likely it's because those colors energize people in the room and they can suck that energy right back in.
Super interesting. I think one of the things that I share all the time about human design is one of the gifts of human design is that it gives us so much validation. It gives me so much validation. I'll just share
Mm.
my own experience. And I can imagine even learning this small piece of human design. Even you're so funny with the manifesting generators because it's true. Like I definitely like to change up my style, although I will say I'm pretty consistently just neutrals. I've been very consistent in neutrals for years now.
Mm,
But knowing that and then using that information, even when you're purchasing new items of clothing and when you're like, what are my staples that I want to spend a lot of money on, and then the extra things, like how much do I want to invest in this because I know that it might not be something that I wear all the time or for a
mhm,
long period of time. I can imagine that there's just so much benefit in learning these little pieces, and of course going back to the authority. I think you and I really connected on that when we had our other conversation of that. Really, to me, is like the meat and potatoes. Like one of the most, if not the most important piece of human design is to learn your authority and learn how you make decisions, and that
mhm,
can be applied into literally everything. And you're just proving that even how you are going about deciding if this is a piece of clothing or a style tool that you want to continue to use, or that is going to work for you, or something that you want, because we can get very excited or drawn into the marketing no matter what you are. Even if you're a sacral authority, or a reflector that has the lunar authority, we all get drawn into that, the
mhm,
marketing tactics, and oh,
mhm,
I should get this and then I'm going to look like that, and
mhm,
all of that. So anyway, so I'm very curious about the whole, if we can touch back on the internal piece. I'm curious, what, diving into the why, what are other ways that we can begin right now, that listeners, that I can begin to explore, like what are other questions besides just why? Like, why do you want to show up this way, or
mhm.
why are you getting this purse, and how is that going to fulfill this, you showing up for your clients? What are some other questions that can continue to help us dive into the internalness of ourselves and how we want to show
Mhm.
up externally?
Well, I think that the first place to always start is just noticing that you want to know, like you want to ask these questions, right? That the question that you just asked, like noticing if there's like an internal spark, like, ooh, yeah, what do I do next? How do I unlock that next step? And that's like a lot of people skip the noticing part because the noticing is the true internal validation of, yes, I want more of this. Ooh, this feels a little bit off. Ooh, and the thing is once when we're asleep to it, it it doesn't matter. But the second you wake up to the fact that when maybe something doesn't go right in your business or you have an argument with a partner, you're going to some sort of consumption, whether it's to going to the store and buying, a new bag charm, which is you're a collector, but you're collecting these things and using collector as this kind of mask for the fact that you're buying something when you don't feel a certain way. And we're looking for that instant like dopamine rush and that hit of like, ooh, I got something, I feel fulfilled. Wait, void is still there. So it's noticing is the first step and giving yourself permission to be okay in that place, which is really uncomfortable. It's very, very uncomfortable to start noticing and witnessing yourself filling voids with consumption. And that's why what I do is like this, always like this like headbutting, this duality of just like, yes, I want you to purchase new things and more. And also I want you to sit with what you already have and acknowledge that those things got you to a certain place. So I want to take an example of an entrepreneur because that's my sweet spot. That's who I love to work with because we're entrepreneurs are mission based, service based. We're taking risks on ourselves already. So why not take a risk on how we present ourselves to the world? So, for example, if you're an entrepreneur and maybe you're a digital entrepreneur, so you have an offering that you share on social media. Maybe you're a public speaker. Maybe you're a content creator and you're looking to do brand deals. You again get to be the solution for the client, your ideal client's problem. And how can you better be a solution? How can you embody being the solution? So the first question, of course, is what is the solution that I'm embodying? Like how, like me, I like every morning I wake up and I am the solution. I am the solution. Today I am the solution because I mean, it feels so amazing to be someone else's solution. Like I'm going to solve someone's problems. So what's the problem? How can I be the solution? I'm the solution. What does that solution look like? What does that solution embody? It takes the pressure off if you take your being out of it, right? Like how does the solution show up? How does the solution speak? What type of content does the solution create? And it makes it also a lot easier because then you can figure out if you're really aligned with that answer, if you're really aligned with being the solution. And that's the mistake that I think a lot of people make. They rush into a solution that doesn't feel aligned with who they are. And I'm like speaking to myself right now, especially as a manifesting generator. I feel like we rush into everything, but it's
Oh,
always, but it's like teaching us, right? And
yeah.
my splenic projector husband rolls his eyes every time I'm like, I have an idea. He was just like, relax. Are you sure that this idea is correct? And I was like, well, it's not about being correct. It's the next iteration of getting me to the next place. I'll get to the place finally. Like I'll get to the destination eventually, but it's gonna look like this.
Uh-huh.
So
Yep.
so I'm gonna push pause because I tend to do this thing where I never really answer the question. So but I just like speak. So um yes, I've said a lot. Let's digest it.
I was so there for you. And to be frank, I don't even remember the question. I was just like,
That's what I
absolutely.
do too.
What I was thinking was like, I need to take notes. I'm going to go back and listen to this episode and take notes of what is the solution. Like, what is the solution? I am the solution. First of all, love
Mhm,
that. Like, let's
mhm,
just reflect on that. That's such a empowering thought to have and such a great reminder of our why if you are the
mhm,
solution to
mhm,
what you like, as a coach, right? For myself. So what solution am I providing to my client? And then I love that reflection of then let me sit back and also notice the answer to that question and see if it aligns with me. Is
mhm,
the solution that my business currently providing, is that aligned with
mhm.
who I am? Is that correct, what I'm
Yeah.
saying so far?
Yeah, and that's where Image Alchemy was born because I was strictly a stylist, like, and I focused on women's shoes and accessories. And I was unboxing shoes on social media, driving massive amounts of volume in sales. And then I'd have the same people coming back to me over and over again for every day buying a pair of shoes for me. And I'm like, hold on, the pair you ordered yesterday hasn't even arrived yet. What are we doing? What are we actually doing? And then I have the courage and the bravery to step in and be like, hey, I've got a question for you.
Mm.
What are we hoping these shoes are going to do for you?
Wow.
And like it also takes like a very gentle approach. Like that's the abridged version, but like I'm like gently prodding and poking.
Yeah.
And and then when I started expanding into clothing and wardrobing, there was this one woman that I had been working with for a long time, and she was the queen of like sending me a screenshot of like a celebrity wearing something, being like, I want that outfit. And I'd
Mm,
send it to her, and then she'd be like, it's not working for me. I'd be like,
mm,
okay, send it on back and we'll figure it out. And then one day I was just like, why isn't it working? Because you sent me a photo and you look like a bombshell in that. So what's going on? And she said, Paul, I feel like I'm a little girl in my mother's clothing. I feel like no one is going to take me seriously wearing this. Like they're thinking, what is she doing walking into the room wearing this? And I was like, oh,
mm.
oh. So there's the self-worth, there's the belonging wound, the worthiness wound is in there because you have the goods, but you don't think that you do. So I said, would you be open to a weekly call? Let's dissect this. Let's get you to a place where you're going to feel so amazing wearing these clothes.
Mm,
And she said, yeah, let's do it. And not only was that so healing for me because it was the first time that I closed a coaching client by a text message and not having to do like a coaching like discovery call and everything, but also it felt so aligned. And then 5 months later, she's investing in her business, doing things that she never thought she would ever do. She
mm,
realized that she was the block, the bottleneck with her dreams. She was the one creating all the chaos and the anxiety in her life. Everything else, it wasn't an external issue at all when she thought it was. I was like, look at you noticing that you're the one who just created all that drama. Like, look at you, next member of Real Housewives of the Beverly Hills, you know? And she was like, oh my gosh, I would never want to be on that show. I was like, your life is that show because of
uh,
you. And she was just like, okay, call me out, call me out. So, okay, no, I'm calling you in with love and gratitude for your willingness to do this work. So from there, we got to a place 3 months in where I was like, okay, now it's time to send you clothes. Now it's time to actually embody the version of yourself because you understand that you are the boss. And all these clothes aren't going to be purchased in vain. They're going to be purchased because you actually are ready to show up as the version of this woman who actually wears the clothes. And that's the entire reason that I could not say no to this work because prior to this I was a self-love coach and I was
mm,
focused primarily on that piece of the life coaching path, and it was always so heartbreaking for me because asking people who don't love themselves to invest in themselves was never an easy, it was an uphill battle from day one. And
mm,
you and I, you can probably relate that like inner work coaching is the most rewarding, but also the most challenging to market
mm,
because it's like, no, I'd much rather buy the $5,000 handbag than invest that amount in a long-term coaching program because something is instant and I don't have to do anything except press pay
right.
and get excited for the package to come.
Mm,
So I merged the two where I'm just like, by the way, did you see how much we spent last week on clothes? This investment is less than that, and it's going to help you feel even more confident wearing those clothes. And they
mm,
go, oh, yeah, when you put it that way, bring me up. So but it also takes a very embodied, willing human to
mm,
say, yeah, I want to actually feel empowered in what I'm wearing. And I know that I need support and I'm willing to do the work. And I'm willing to heal my inner child and play around and and do like that inner work before putting on the fancy clothes, or even like it doesn't have to be expensive. Like I work with high level high net worth entrepreneurs who have the funds, but like if you're like Paul, Banana Republic is my top of
yeah.
the line, great, we can do that too. Like there's nothing saying you can't show up embodied because I
Mm,
wear an ASOS suit some days which costs under $300 and people are like, oh my god, is that Cuccinelli? And I'm like, nope, but my confidence is. And
mm,
that's the thing. It doesn't matter the label, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. It's the same way when you're scrolling and you're like, "Ooh, I love that. Wait, it's H&M? Why does it H&M? Oh, it's because of the positioning, it's because of the model, it's because of the confidence, because of the styling. It's because of all
yeah.
of these things." And granted, those clothes for some reason you can never actually find at H&M. I don't know what's going on. But that's neither here nor there. It's just the understanding that
Yeah.
again, the clothes don't make the man make the
Mm.
clothes.
That, I mean, wrap it up, drop the mic right there. Like, that's it. That's the whole. We spend so much money on clothes, jewelry, shoes, whatever it is, because we want maybe what's in the picture, whether that is photoshopped or the model maybe has done the work and is we want the confidence, we want the embodiment, and we have this belief that it's if I have the thing, then I have the confidence, and that is so profound that it's the other way around when we have the
Mhm.
confidence. I mean, you could arguably show up in anything and make it look good. And it's not so
Hmm.
much about the brand or whatever else it is.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
about how do I feel in that, which
Yeah.
is kind of like a revert, like what I keep kind of coming back to is kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Because it's my question is, can we reverse engineer this and do it the other way, asking ourselves, why don't I feel confident in this coat right now? Or what, whatever it is, jean
Hmm.
jacket right now. Can we ask ourselves, can we start there in our wardrobe? Like, what are the pieces that I don't feel aligned with and don't feel
Hmm.
confident in? And then
Yeah.
dissect it that way?
Of
Is it the
course. Why
same
not?
out? Is it the same
Well,
outcome?
it's like the Marie Kondo method. Does this bring me joy? Like going through
Mm,
everything in wardrobe, does this bring me joy? Yes, no. It's an instant. Of course, again, with the authority, it's not always instant. And I think that with these blanket, sacral, like ways that we're told to do things, that's not it. So I always like anyone I work with, I want to know their human design because
yeah.
it informs me of how to communicate and work with them. But outside of that, this reverse engineering is my favorite thing to do. Let's revert
Mm,
your goal is to have a private jet. Okay, let's reverse engineer that. How do we make that happen? How do we get
mm,
you in the rooms with the clients who are going to pay you to support that investment? How are
mm,
we going to get you to feel embodied enough and confident enough to know that you are worthy of making that investment and continuously calling that in, right? And
mm.
those are like scary things because no, I just want it. Okay, again, why? Why do you want it? Because right now, at least for people who are far away from that goal, the why is probably, oh, because I want to feel the way that I think it's going to make me feel by having that private jet.
So sorry.
Oh,
I'm
exactly.
picking up my phone because I needed to pull up your human design because you just gave me. Can I share something with
Of
you that you
course.
may or may not have already discovered? We have a manifestation process, and you're either a specific manifester or a non-specific
Yeah.
manifester. Do you know?
I'm a
You
non-specific.
are
Yeah,
non-specific.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I just made this connection. You keep saying why. And I'm like, I've said this before because I did a workshop on manifestation on our manifestation type, and we're talking all about um, so I like to teach a little bit on my podcast. So I know you probably know this, but for those that haven't studied their manifestation type, if you're a specific manifester, you do really well with specifics. So instead of like, I want to make 100 grand of, oh, I'm sorry, instead of I want to make a lot of money this year. I want to make 100 grand this year. Or instead of like, I just want to call in new clients this month, I want to call in 3 new clients this month. That's a specific manifester. A non specific manifester is the opposite, and it's very focused on the why and the feeling. So instead of I want to call in 3 new clients this month, it's I want to call in clients that feel very aligned, that really hear and are so eager to learn about my specific process, whatever that is, or non-specific, like buying a car. I want to drive a car that I feel very safe and secure in, rather than I want a Nissan Rogue, whatever.
Mhm.
And I think that with all of this said, there's such a balance, because I do agree with you that we need to dive into the why, and the why behind why do you want 3 clients instead of 5 new clients. And so I think the process that we can excavate this information and digest this information is going to look just a little bit different for each manifestation type.
Mhm.
And you just, I don't know, everything that you were saying, I'm like, he's a non-specific manifester. And then I had to just double check and make sure that I wasn't, completely off. But why? And the feeling, like for non-specific, I'm a specific. And sometimes I
Mm.
wish that I was a non-specific. We often wish that we were the opposite. But the
Mhm.
feeling behind why you are calling something in is so important for the non-specific manifestors. Not that it's not for the specifics, but there's like
Mhm,
just slight differences.
mhm.
Almost maybe we can be a little bit more, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm so like logical and I get very in my head, but yeah, like why do I want three? Or you can reverse engineer it. Like you want a yacht? Okay, so how many how much do you need to bring in a month? And then how many clients does that mean a month? And that's your answer of how many
Mhm.
clients you're bringing in versus, I just willy-nilly want three new clients. Anyway,
Yeah,
I don't know. I
I
don't know if
feel
you've
that.
ever like dove into that. That's deep human design and that's like
Mhm.
maybe more not like expert level, but that's like at least intermediate level that we don't have
Yeah.
to get into. But for those of us that like are looking for that one other thing that might click. Like sometimes it's the energy type, sometimes it's the profile, sometimes it's the manifestation type that just is that
Mhm.
like, let me get
Mhm.
my foot in the door.
Yeah. I definitely sometimes wish that I was a specific manifester because I'll be like, I'm like, oh, for example, at the beginning of this week, like last minute, I flew from New York to LA to meet a client for a fitting and basically to have dinner with her because she was having like a challenging time in her life.
Mm,
And I was like, I didn't know why, but I was like, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go. I was on the plane, I was booking my flight, and I was like, why are you spending all of this money to
mm,
go across the country for less than 48 hours to have dinner with someone? And I was just like, gotta go, gotta do it, gotta go. And it's like, and then when I was there and I was like walking on Rodeo, I was sipping my Erewhon smoothie, which like for some reason just like changes my life every time I'm in Erewhon. I'm just like, oh, why? Why do I love it here so much? And I'm always almost about to become a member, even though like I rarely go there. I'm like, yes, charge me $200 so I can save 5%, please. But it's just it's the embodiment of like the
mm,
person, the version. And 5 years ago, all I wanted was to be the type of person who could just pick up and go
mm,
somewhere, leave, like fly, have a reason to travel to New York or LA or London. And just, and so that why for me was just that was the desire. And then I'm sitting and I'm like, oh, I've made it. That piece. So it's giving also like within manifestation and also just being a human. I think it's those noticing moments that are really important as well. Like giving ourselves permission to actually celebrate that we did it and not just looking for the next thing. And that's, I think that specific, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but specific manifestors might be a little bit better at being like, ooh, I hit the thing because I was specific about it and I knew I wanted it. The goal is the goal. I made it. Whereas non-specific, I'm just like, it's a feeling. It's all a feeling. So,
mm,
and I do look at that. And it's interesting because most of my clients are non-specific and emotional. And it's like, so that's why I also lean deeply into the why and the feeling because it's
yeah.
all about the feeling. And it's all about like this morning I texted a client, I was like, how are you feeling about this? She was like, I don't know. And I said, okay, that's great. We're not making any decisions. Neutral is better than like elated or like really sad in the specifics that we're working through right now. So it's it's really, really fun to incorporate human design and coaching. It also, I think, makes it easier.
Mm,
It unlocks a lot and helps us resonate a little bit more with not only our individuality, but the best way to be ourselves.
mm-hmm. And to navigate and yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I definitely agree. And I agree with you actually. I've never thought about that with the specifics, specific versus non-specific and like celebrating, but that definitely does make sense being able to be like, oh yeah, I got the three, or
Hmm.
I got to
Yeah.
fly to LA. I saw that post. I don't know if it was a story post or an
Yeah,
Instagram.
I think it was story. Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. Because I was gonna tell people go back and read it. It was beautiful. But I mean, what a fun reminder to continue to notice the places in your life where you are sitting in what you once wanted to call into your life
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
taking that time to be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was that's actually pretty dope right now.
Mhm.
Proud of
You
myself.
know, that post was really about taking a chance on yourself, and also you never know, and that's another piece about being aligned. It's the client that I was out there visiting saw a post that I put on Instagram that like tanked. It was just like no one saw it but this one random person who wasn't following me. And because of that, like we started having a conversation and connected. And now like they're my ride or die, and it's one of those things where you just never know, post the content, even though it's cringe, like share
Mm,
because you never know who you're impacting.
yeah.
And that's the biggest blessing about being a creator. It's the biggest blessing about being an entrepreneur is the impact that you have. Because for me, it's so fulfilling to have that type of impact.
Mm. And if it's coming from an aligned place, like often a lot of the posts that I make, I'm also talking to myself and I'm posting for myself. And yes, I am posting it because I believe in what I'm saying and I'm hopeful that it reaches someone and changes their perspective
Mhm.
or, intrigues them.
Mhm.
But if it's coming from an aligned place, I think that it's always the answer is always yes, make that post or share that because you don't know who it's touching and you don't know who it's going to
Right.
reach. And if it's just that one person, you don't I mean, that's a great example. You don't know that one
Yeah.
person, it could be huge. So,
The other thing that I'd say about content creation and really this whole concept of being the solution,
mm,
it can get a little overwhelming because it's like I want to be the solution for everyone, the people that follow me, the people who don't follow me, the people who might see my post. And I think that can get like we can get a little too big picture with it. So my recommendation would be the solution for your warm or hot audience, not
mm,
your cold audience. Focus on the people who already know you because I sometimes get into my head and I'm like, oh, if I post this and someone new sees it, they're not going to understand. Or I'm going to have to like do this expansive caption or like have this like story highlights that explains everything about who I am. Instead of that, like you want people who are following you and like loving you as an entire brand
mm.
to be your client, not necessarily like every once in a while, I'll get a person who's just like, oh, heard you on a podcast, instant sign up.
Mhm.
But I think a podcast is a little different. But I've
Yeah,
never like I saw that one story and I instantly signed up because
yeah.
that story was also promoting my creator profit blueprint masterclass, which is happening next week, and that was almost like it was doing my best to tie in. I'm in a manifesting generator pivot as well with that.
Mhm.
So it's like I have all these followers who are following me for unboxing shoes, and I'm pivoting into talking about just like more about image alchemy, more about being a creator and how to monetize the solution that you're offering to everyone. So
Mm.
anyway,
Hmm. I love that. So speaking of your Instagram, I love it, obviously. So where can people find you and watch your journey and all of this pivoting unfold, and where can people connect with you?
so you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, at Paul X Luxury, because I believe that luxury is a collaboration, and luxury gets to be defined by the person who is experiencing it. So that's why I thought of myself as a collaboration with luxury.
I love that. And of course, I will link that down below so people can follow. So, last question. I have one, two, three, four, five different questions. You seem very good with the flow and fun. So, pick a number one through five, and this will be our last question for the podcast.
3.
Three. What does living alignment feel like in your body? And feel free to bring in human design or really just what does living, how do you know that you are living in alignment? What somatically shows you that you're living in alignment?
I think it's a cocktail of peace
Mm,
and energy, like electricity. Yes,
Mm.
and that is punctuated by my new puppy Hazel barking. So when some, I always believe that like when you hear loud noises or things are tracking, it's trying to get you to hone in and listen.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the distractions. Get comfortable with hearing what is in front of you.
I couldn't even hear it, so maybe it was just me
Oh,
listening so hard, or maybe I didn't pick it
or
up, but
maybe it's just all the noise canceling things I have going on.
hopefully. I mean, we would assume that the technology that we buy works. We would
Yeah.
hope. Thank you so much, Paul. This was such a fun conversation. There's so
Thank
many little
you.
tidbits that I hope really resonated and I know will resonate, and pieces that I'm going to take. I always love having people on my podcast that I'm like, wow, I got so much like new
Mm.
information and inspiration. So thank you for being so inspiring. Thank you for showing up as yourself and showing up for your people and this world in such a beautiful and authentic way. And I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed my time.